Let's take you to the Eastern Cape now, where the Rona Batho Memorial Trust, in partnership with the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, is launching the 2025 Maseru Massacres art exhibition and musical tribute in East London. The launch will coincide with the 43rd commemoration of the 1982 Maseru Massacre. 30 South Africans, ANC and MK members exiled in Lesotho, and 12 Lesotho nationals were killed by apartheid forces in the early hours of the 9th of December of 1982. For reflections, here's SABC News reporter Sidima Mfeku, who has more for us this hour. So, Sidima, take us through what is going to be happening today, looking at the history of the country, its dark past, and how this is, somewhat of a stark memory of what has happened.
A very good morning to you, Mxolisi. Well, without taking, from what our guest is going to be speaking to us about in terms of what is the purpose of this particular exhibition here in East London, we do understand that the main purpose of it is to keep alive, the memory of the people that had lost their lives during that very dark period in our country. We do understand that, this has been commemorated particularly in Lesotho, where, commemorations were done even last year with, some leaders in that country, giving, some hope to the people or to the victims and the families of the victims, saying that they were going to provide, some education for others. And, there is processes of repatriation that is still going on for those that had died during that particular period. But now to hear more as to what is the reason for bringing it here in East London as opposed to it being in Lesotho like it was in last year, we speak to Ms. Nomsa Kanto, who is the representative of the Rona Batho Memorial Trust. So thank you very much for your time. I think the parting point is, what are we doing here today?
Good evening, or is it good afternoon, Sidima. Good morning, rather. So today, we are here. Today marks the 43rd commemoration of the 1982 Maseru Massacre. We then felt, as the organization, the Rona Batho Memorial Trust, which is a group of us as children and grandchildren of the victims of the 1982 as well as the 1985 Maseru Massacres. So we collaborated with the Walter Sisulu University Fine Arts students back in 2023, where we wanted to preserve and safeguard this legacy and our history as the families, as the survivors, right? So, and from there, we wanted to use the arts, right, to tell our story, to preserve this memory. And as you can roam around and see the artworks, the students produced these compelling artworks that pay tribute to those who fell in 1982 and 1985, and for us as the survivors. So I'm speaking to you as a survivor. I was an infant. I was 10 months on the 9th of in Maseru when I was born in Lesotho to South African political activists. I was 10 months when the 1982 Maseru Massacre happened. So I'm wearing that hat as a survivor. My father was one of those 42 who were massacred in 1982, and I'm also a co-founder of the Rona Batho Memorial Trust.
When we're looking at the portraits that are here, some are drawing a very sad picture. For instance, this one, it does look like there's blood, there's, people fearing for their lives, children fearing for their lives. Just speak to us about, the mood that is being set inside here, even maybe reflect on how our family is feeling at this point.
Right. And you rightfully say, the way children ourselves as infants, right? I have older siblings who were in their pre-teens, who are teens, who have recollection of what happened that night. I have no recollection. So what the artist depicted here was just the solemn mood of what happened, these children seeing losing their parents, and others was we do have victims who were killed with children. But also through this, it was a cathartic experience for us as survivors and family members to see young people, right, who were not born during that time, young people putting their works in memorializing the tragedy that was the 1982 and 1985 Maseru Massacre. So for me, who worked very, very closely with the students, it was a cathartic experience. It still is, to see these artworks coming to life. Though it was tragedy, but we are also, the commemoration and also remembering and trying to journey from the transgenerational trauma that we are experiencing.
And when I was speaking earlier on, I touched on the issue of, empowering victims of the tragedy, as well as the families of those who had passed on. Speak to us about that process. What has been happening in that regard as families? What has been going on?
Very challenging, Sidima. And the reason why we've brought it to the Eastern Cape for the first time, majority of these victims are from the Eastern Cape, different parts of the Eastern Cape. So there were 51 in total, both massacres, and 36 of those come from the Eastern Cape. And I will tell you that as much as it's an arts and culture, we're using the arts to tell our story, but the event itself will bring together families and survivors who will tell harrowing stories of post, right? When here in South Africa, when you talk about what you call issues of reparations, for instance, housing issues, there are widows. Some of the artworks depict the journey of the widows, Abasuka Engcobo, who are from Engcobo, who still don't have forced numbers of their husbands. So they've been let down by the Department of Military Veterans. There's a family, Mahwangana family in Port in Eqeberha, issue of housing. Umamumamia appeared on the TRC, she testified, and one of the recommendations was that she needs to be built a house. She lost 3 family members in the 1982 Maseru Massacre. And those are challenges as the Memorial Trust we've been putting forward to government to say we need to assist the families and survivors. Us hosting events is not enough. We need to deal with socio-economic issues. Issues of repatriation, you mentioned that earlier. We have 2 families whose loved ones are still in Maseru. Beginning of the year, we were in contact with the NPA Missing Task Team led by Madeline Fullard, the SARA, and the Department of Arts and Culture. And processes began then, but there's been delay. So we are still waiting for government to come back to the families with regards to repatriating those remains. So those issues are also the core of the trust to push the socio-economic issues that families are still with.
Thank you very much for your time. We're going to be around here and monitoring what's going to be happening throughout the day. This is Ms. Sakans, who is speaking on behalf of the Rona Batho Memorial Trust, saying that they still have quite some challenges in terms of getting all those promises that were made to the victims, but they are in engagements with government to try and accelerate, the solution to these problems.